Welcome to Right on Track, a songwriting podcast. Thanks to Tone for tuning in. I'm Demi Michelle Schwartz, and I'm thrilled you're joining me on my songwriting journey. So kick back and relax, don't fall flat, and remember, stay right on track. Hey everyone, welcome back to Right on Track. Joining me on the show today is an artist I'm delighted to have a conversation with. Please welcome Emmet Stevens Jr. Hey Emmet.
How are you doing?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
Oh, I'm great. Couldn't be better.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have you on the show today. We have lots to chat about, including your new music, your life as a performer and songwriter, and more. But before we get into all of that, I would love for you to share a little about yourself and how you got started in music.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thanks for having me.
Of course.
So I'm 26. About 5 years ago, I apologize. I'm gonna say a lot. About 5 years ago, I was in college and I was going for a business management degree at St. Leo University in Dade City, Florida, my hometown. Long story short, my dad needed to have some surgery, so I took a break from school, which I'm currently still on. Now it's been 5 years. And just to make a little bit of money on the side, I started playing in bars because I'd always loved to play guitar from like the age of 12. And I learned I could sing around the age of like 16, 17, I'd say. But never really did anything with it aside from like playing at my house or at like parties or bonfires we'd have around town. And so I started playing at bars on the side just for some extra cash. And I honestly just fell in love with it. And then probably about a year and a half, 2 years after that, I started writing music because I had gotten the opportunity to open up a few concerts, met a bunch of songwriters. I was like, oh, I should try to write a song, and wrote a couple songs. And looking back on them, they were not the best, but people still liked them or showed some interest. And so they would ask, like, man, where can I get that song at? And I was like, actually, you can come to my next show next week at this bar. And just from there, I just kept going, started writing, started going up to Nashville and like recording so that people could have some music. Because at first I wasn't putting out music. I was just like going up there and I'd record like a song that like a few people really liked. And I would just kind of like send them like, like a demo of the song that I'd written. Then I was like, man, I should try to like make this a thing. And so then I just started going up and recording music, met some really great writers, some really great producers. And, you know, we just released the second song, Walked Away. So I have two songs out, and no, we're just getting started.
That's so exciting, and I love your journey of, just performing to make money on the side, and then you realized that you liked it, and then you thought you would write a song, and then you started recording, and then it became a whole thing. Like, I feel like I had a similar journey. Like, I have always loved storytelling, and
Yeah.
I'm a classically trained musician, and so I've done a lot of performing as a pianist, not really as an artist, but since I was 10 years old, I was playing piano and performing and
Oh,
stuff. And so I have like
you're
a musical
classically trained,
background.
you said?
Yes, I am. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's sick. So you're like
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah, yeah. So I grew up like in that setting, and then when I was in college, I started writing music, and then I started recording, and then I started releasing, and now it's like the whole artist thing. So I think
Yeah.
it's really cool how you have something that draws you to the whole music industry, being an artist thing, and then it becomes a bigger part of your life.
I can't lie. I'm a little jealous of like the training thing, like being like really good because I learned off of YouTube. I would just
Oh,
like hear a
wow.
song I liked, and then I'd go watch some guy online play it and then just try to copy them. And
Oh,
that's how I
wow.
learned how to play guitar. So that's really funny.
I mean, that's like a total free way of doing it. I mean, I grew up like learning music theory and stuff, and so I have that very strong background. But when I was in college, I double majored in music and English, and so I got the music degree as well. But not everyone does, and I think you're a really great example of inspiration to others out there that you don't need to have a strong background in music theory, and you don't need to be classically trained to be an artist.
It's cool also that like you kind of like because there's a lot of like people that are like classically trained that I would say I wouldn't say talk down, but like think negatively about somebody who isn't like as like all the technical stuff. Like I don't know any of the fancy words. Like I can't even think of any right now. But I know there are big words to describe like a crescendo. I'm not gonna lie, I have no idea what that means. But I know it's a term.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the place where I feel like it helps me the most is in the studio because I'm able to clearly articulate to my producer, like, yeah, like I am going to go to the secondary dominant here. Let's do this, this, this. So like it's easy for me to like articulate certain things in the studio, which is good. But I found as well, like when you are trained with classical music, there are a ton of rules, especially with like chord progressions, and you shouldn't end on this note. You need to have this kind of cadence and all this stuff. And so when I started writing songs, I think, especially if you're writing commercial music, like I do pop and country, I know you do country, and sometimes you can break classical rules because you want it to sound good and you want a certain tone or certain effect. And so I found
Yeah.
that in a way, like the classical music, I had to break away from that a little bit. So my head wasn't full of like, oh, you can't do this because Bach didn't do it. It's like, no, like I'm writing pop music.
I'm not Bach. I am not Bach. That's
Yeah. No,
so
he's
funny.
great. Great, great.
Yeah, no, the my drummer, he went to college and he like studied music theory and stuff like that. So like we'll be talking about stuff. And like I said, I don't know any of the big words. I can be like, but so I say I play by feel a lot, like whatever if it feels
Yeah,
good,
yeah,
play
yeah,
it kind
yeah.
of thing. And so and I know, and don't get me wrong, like I know my stuff as far as like ear music goes, like listening by ear. So I can say like, man, I don't. I it's hard sometimes to explain like what I want them to do, especially like for because not all the songs when we play them live are the exact same way they're recorded.
Yeah.
And so I'll be like, all right, we need to do this. And he's like, what do you want me to do? I was like, all right, I can't tell you exactly what I want you to do. I want you to make it feel like this. And I'll play something and like hopefully the feeling comes across.
Yeah.
But he's super cool at like breaking that down for me, like saying, all right, so you want us to do this, and he'll say like a bunch of fancy terms. And my guys will look at that guy and be like, all right, cool, we can do that. And I was like,
Yeah.
awesome. Then it translates the same.
Yeah.
It's so funny, like the emotion you can provoke from now. Do you write lyrics as well, or or
I
just
do.
like,
Yeah, I write
oh, cool.
everything. Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
it's so cool to me how like obviously like you can write like beautiful lyrics and stuff, but you can also have like the most simplistic lyrics sometimes, but then also just have like such like a pretty chord progression or like a transition in there that just like you can like feel the words like through the music. And I think when you can marry like great lyrics with great music, I think that's how you get like the best song.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's the perfect thing of not focusing so much on the technical stuff because
Hmm.
the everyday listener is not going to be listening to that and thinking, oh, they just went from a minor six to a major four and now they're doing like a half cadence. Like, nobody, like, the average listener isn't going to know this stuff. They're going to
No.
want to feel the music and connect to
Yep.
it. And so I think that sometimes there can be downfalls to focusing so much on the technical side and just focusing on instead, like, the emotion and what you want the listener to feel.
Totally.
Yeah, perfect.
I'm glad we agree on that. Cool.
Yeah, no, absolutely, for sure. So, how would you describe your songwriting process when you sit down to write a song?
Well, it honestly it kind of depends. So, like for example, so I still live in Florida. I go up to Nashville 1 week every month to like write with my friends and work like record songs with producers. So each song, if I'm by myself, the best thing I honestly just pick up my guitar and then like the first, I think like whatever first chord like I play, I try to write to that, whether it's minor, major key, whatever. But and then I'll play like chord progression I like, and obviously so many chord progressions like overdone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, especially me not knowing all the like the minor, sixth, and major set,
Yeah.
whatever it is, I don't. I'm a little limited. Um, but I'll play a chord progression I like, or I'll find like a picking pattern that I like, and I'll play it, and I'll like listen. I was like, all right, what is this? What does this feel like? Is this like sad? Is this like is this like a hopeful like melody, or is this happy? And then from there, I'll kind of skim through my notes section on my phone a little bit because like if I have an idea popping in my head, I'll write it down. And so I'll skim through like my notes section on my phone and be like, all right, well, this line's kind of hopeful. Like, can I fit this to that music? And I'll do that. Now, if I go into a write with a bunch of writers, sometimes I always have ideas like jotted down on my phone, so I'll bring some of those out or whatever I'm going on, whatever going on in my life. Like it's really funny. You have this thing like if you write with somebody you've never met before, there's like this running joke. It's like, hey, we just met. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
let's talk about our deepest
Yeah, yeah.
emotions. And it's really funny. Like you met this stranger, but you're willing like to pour your heart out to them.
Yeah.
But whether it's heartbreak, or if you're in love, or if you're angry, or if like you just lost somebody or something like that,
Mhm.
or if you're feeling like grateful, um, it just kind of depends on the day. Honestly, I
Yeah.
like I like storytelling, and I
Yeah, yeah.
found that the more honest you are, the better the song is. So like
Yes.
sometimes I'll say a line that's like so like deep and dark and depressing or morbid, and they're like, "Oh, that's cool," and I was like, "Oh yeah, thanks." Like yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
No, super relatable. I think we're kind of reversed because I tend to start with lyrics, but I have written from like a piano accompaniment and stuff before. But
hmm
I think either way, you're ending up with a song. And at the end of the day as well, I completely agree with authenticity. I think that writing about something that is real and honest is the best way because I know there definitely are songwriters out there who write fictionally and tell stories that aren't necessarily theirs, and that's totally fine. But for me, I think writing from my personal life just makes more sense because songwriting is how I process things and how I get stuff out. And I'm not out here writing fictional stories. I'm writing about things that made me happy or upset or like super ticked and like just pour that out into a song. And then I think the same goes for whichever way you're writing. If you're starting with the music and then writing lyrics to that or the other way around. You mentioned
yeah,
something there about finding something that fits. Like if it's a hopeful sound, it's like looking for something that fits the tone. And I
yeah,
think that's what makes a song extra strong if the lyrics and the melody complement each other. Like if you're
yes,
singing about something super, super, super happy, if you have a very slow, minor, full of dissonant chords ballad, it might not fit the best. And so I think it makes sense to look at what the lyrics are saying and the musical message as well, and finding a way to make those fit together for maximum impact.
yeah. You're classically trained, so you can go back and listen to like Beethoven and Bach and all of them, and there's no words, but like you can feel the
Right,
emotion in
right.
the music. So that's why I'm
Absolutely.
saying like if the music alone can make you feel something, and if you put like really like relatable lyrics to something that like you went through that other people have also went through, because we all go through the same things just at different times in our lives. Like if you can find the words to really capture like either like whether it be pain or happiness or hope or even guilt, sometimes if you can find the words that perfectly match the music and like the melodies and stuff, I think that's how you get the best song.
For sure. I completely 100% agree. Absolutely.
Yeah. And
S-
it's such a beautiful thing when it comes together
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's almost healing. And like I'm not good at communicating my emotions. Just talk. I think that might be a
No.
guy thing.
Mm-mm.
That might be just be a guy thing. I don't know.
No, no, I suck at talking about my emotions. That's why I put them in my song.
Yeah, it's like I can't tell anybody, but I can like say this to somebody, but I can sing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really, yeah, it's funny.
For sure, absolutely. So I know you started by performing and you still do a lot of performing. So do you get performance anxiety? Is it a super fun thing all the time or do you get nervous?
To be completely honest with you, I love it so much. It's such an adrenaline rush. Whether it's 5 people or like we did a Easton Corbin show back in April, and I think there was like almost 2,000 people, and it was like my biggest like audience yet. Obviously, Easton's great, and like I thanked him a bunch for letting us come out and do that. Um, as far as anxiety goes, no, I actually get like really excited. There's actually videos that my videographer has. I'm like doing like jumping jacks and like push-ups backstage because I have so much like excitement and like just energy and like adrenaline that I can't just stand still, and I have to like get it out of my system basically, or I'll go on stage and just be like shaking like with excitement.
Wow, cannot relate. I get anxious. Not as bad. I think because again with my classical background, it's a very different setting, playing in a concert hall, all formal on the stage with a very silent audience that's there for classical music. And
Yeah.
so because of my environment in school, like playing like that for my professors and
Mhm.
stuff, I think that's where it came from and it transferred a little bit into just my performances now, which is why I don't
Mhm.
play as much, but I think I'm getting better. but I definitely feel anxiety at least a little
Also,
bit.
I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, with stuff when you're playing like classical pieces and stuff, I'd have to imagine people are there like for perfection.
Right, absolutely, yeah.
Like there's no room for error.
No,
Whereas if
no.
you're doing a concert, people actually, honestly, it's people actually kind of like it when you mess up or like you flub up a word or you miss them because like also there's like this banter you can have with the crowd that you don't necessarily get when you're playing like classical pieces at like halls or
Right.
anything like that.
No.
And so I think people like the realness that
Yeah.
comes with like, hey, we all mess up. Like, I do this all the time, but obviously I still mess up. So
Yeah. No, there
I
is
could
a
definitely see how that
difference.
pressure translate to like other shows.
Mhm. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah.
Very different environment. Very, very different. Perfect. So now I want to hear about your 2 singles. So
Yeah.
can you share what they're called and the inspiration behind them?
All right. The first one that we released back in September of last year is called Done With You. That's Dunn, like Ronnie Dunn. And I was in actually my kitchen here at the house, and I think I was just like washing some dishes, and I was washing like a whiskey glass, because old fashions are like my drink of choice. And so I was just washing a whiskey glass, and obviously Morgan has the song "Whiskey Glasses," and then I said the line just popped in my head. I got my whiskey glasses because that's what Morgan said, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. So then I like took that concept and then just started thinking about all these like breakup songs and then like kind of relating them back to the artist that wrote them and like I tried to find what I thought was a clever way of like saying I got my whiskey glasses because that's what Morgan said, and then like catch me starting over like Chris Stapleton talking about a breakup or like starting again, and because there's so many. I mean, country music is in no shortage of breakup songs.
No,
You got
no.
the tropes. You got you're either breaking up, falling in love,
Yeah.
or she took everything from you, or we're just going out drinking. So like you have the classic tropes. So I was trying to write a breakup song that was like not so like the same,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
in doing so, I actually wrote a song that was just repeating, like regurgitating that stuff that other people had said in breakup songs. So it's kind of ironic, but also "Done with You" I wouldn't say is a sad breakup song. It's almost like there's a silver lining on the other end of everything. Like if it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be. Like it's gonna be okay. Like something's better coming around the corner, anyways.
Yeah.
And then walked away. So I actually found the original work tape of it on my phone. It was from like December of 2021, and I don't remember where I was when I wrote it. I might have just been in my little like home studio here, and I honestly found the recording, and I was like, "This sounds nothing like the finished product that we got out within the studio," which was completely fine because it was just like a dry idea I had just had, and just like you know put the voice notes on, hit record, and just like tracked it a little bit. Yeah, the inspiration, I mean, you've listened to it. I mean, the story's kind of in the song. Um, I don't want to go too much into detail about it or anything like that, but if you listen to the song, I think you'll understand the inspiration behind it about how why I was feeling how I was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, like, we talk about our feelings and situations through music. It's hard to talk about them, like, just
Yeah.
verbally. Um, but no, I think it's really fantastic how you have these 2 songs out. I think it's building a nice foundation for you because I'm sure more music is on the way.
Yeah, and also like still being like really like everyone keeps like wanting me to put out more and more music, and I have so many songs like written, so many like demos that we've tracked and stuff. But I'm still very new to this, and I'd rather take my time and get it right because I'm also still very new to like being in a studio, to be completely honest with you. And so like I really want to make sure that when I go to put something out, it reflects my ability as an artist currently, and I don't want my I guess noviceness in a studio currently to be reflected in the song. And like if I'm not able to like get the message across in the studio that I want, like I don't want to put the song out because like no, like we want people to like this and like relate to it and like be able to feel the emotion that I'm trying to express. Yeah, so like it is I know it's taken I knew it's what we released the first song in September, and then the last song came out in May. I mean, so that's a pretty hefty break between songs. But I want people to like enjoy the music. I want them to be able to listen to it on repeat, basically.
Yeah, and I think the way the industry now is putting a lot of pressure on artists, especially independent artists, to release a certain amount and to keep yourself in listeners' minds, which is important. But there are other things we can be doing to stay in people's minds, like sharing videos, like behind the scenes, talking about inspiration behind songs and
Yeah,
playing
exactly.
shows. Like, we don't want to just release songs just to release songs. Like last year, was not a big release year for me because I released my EP in 2022 and I had started recording my sophomore album, which is coming out in August of this year. And
Oh,
last year
yeah,
I still,
congrats.
yeah, thank you. Last year I still wanted to release stuff, but I released a cover of If I Die Young. Then I released an acoustic song that I wrote. And then I released a Christmas single because I release Christmas singles every year. And so that was a very slow year for me. But people ask like, "Where's your next album? Where's it?" I'm like, "Can I write the songs? Can I record it?" Like, I'm not rushing, and I really set myself up this year. Like, I had all the songs for the album recorded by last September. And so I have my
Oh, wow.
whole release schedule of like, I'm releasing a single this day, this day, this day, the full album this weekend. So it's a lot easier and it takes the pressure off because when I did my debut album, I had no clue what I was doing. I rushed everybody. My producer probably hated me by the end. My graphic designer probably hated me by the end because I was like, this is the date. I need all my stuff like now, 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 now. And like I rushed
Yeah.
everything. I was miserable. And this time around, I'm like, we are not doing this. Like, I'm
I
having
I
everything
also don't
ready.
I also don't think
So,
you get to be as, like, and I don't know, I don't think I'm the one that feels this way, but, like, we were talking a little bit before we started recording about, the being honest and, like, putting pressure when you have deadlines and stuff. I almost feel like it kind of kills that it could kill the creativeness if like you're putting so much pressure, like you might get stuck on a line of a song that you only need one line of a song left, but you have this filler line that you're like, it's okay, but like we could really hammer this home. Like if I got to like think about it and not be like rushed to start the next song or something like that.
right. Yeah. No, I
Like,
completely
and
agree.
sometimes like, I'll write a song in like 30 minutes
Yeah,
and like
yeah.
and it's really good. And sometimes it'll take me like a week, 2 weeks to write a song.
Yeah.
And I think if you like rush it and like put like a deadline on it, it kills that
I
creativity that
completely
you
agree.
need to be like. It's hard to explain because obviously like I love my job and like I know it's not like the typical job where like all right we clock in at 9 get done at 5. It could be like I mean I've written songs like 2 3 o'clock in the morning like something hits me and I'm like I need and like I'll be dead tired and I'm like I can't go to sleep because like right now I I'm in like the perfect mental
Yep.
like headspace to like write
Yep, yep.
exactly what I'm feeling, like convey what I want to say, and then like then I'll sleep until like 11 o'clock the next day because I didn't go to bed till like 4. And my friends like, where were you at? And I was like, oh dude, I had a really good song. I'm sorry, had a line that just came to me, and I was like, I had to finish it.
I've written songs in the middle of the night before too, for sure.
Oh yeah. And
But
honestly, those are some of my. I remember I have a song that I wrote like 2:30. I came home from a gig, little buzzed. That's a lie. I was drunk, but I came home from a gig, and it was like 2:30 in the morning. I was just feeling like so down about this relationship, and I was like, it's always funny. Like you write drunk, but you edit sober, and like because you can be as honest as you want, as you can be. Like when you're drunk and like nothing's holding you back. But then you wake up, you're like, oh, that doesn't really you know,
yeah.
it doesn't make sense grammatically. I was like, let me just edit a few here so like people know what I really meant to say.
Oh my goodness, that's so funny. That's so funny. But
Yeah.
I just wanted to briefly touch on something you kind of mentioned earlier about, if you're in the studio and it's just not feeling the right emotion or, communicating what you want to. I had that experience with the lead single of the album called Kind Heart I released on Leap Day. And when I went to the studio initially to record it, I like booked a 10-hour session and I was doing other stuff and part of it was to do that song and I had recorded the piano for it in a different session so all I had to do was sing the vocals. And when I was there, it just that song is like super vulnerable and like I had to be in the right headspace to do it.
Hmm.
And I was there and I was like, I can't do this song now. It's just not gonna happen. I'm going to do it next time. And I gave myself the permission to do that.
Good.
Versus in my debut days, I would have been like, you have to do it today. and
Yeah.
I feel like I came so far since then. And so shout out to you being at the beginning and recognizing, "Hey, I don't have to rush stuff," because old me did that, and it was not good.
Yeah. I wouldn't, and honestly, like, it's not even, I wouldn't say that's entirely like my doing, like realizing I should take the time. So when I go in the studio now, the producer I worked on, I did Walked Away with. His name is Tyler Slauson. He's a great producer. And me and him are like really good friends. So it's also really nice, like when you're in a studio and like you have like that comfortability, that familiarity with your friends. So me and Tyler will be in there, and I'll bring my buddy Colin Rolfe in, and he's a great vocalist, great writer. We write a bunch together, and then I also had my manager in there, and I'd get really like I remember we were in the studio 7 hours that day just tracking vocals for one song, just because like I was not able to get the sound I like. So then like I would take a break, we go get a sandwich, and I mean, honest, we went to is it Jersey Mike's, because they have like, first of all, you ever been to Jersey Mike's?
No.
You should. It's delicious. They have this like red pepper sauce. It's the best. But that's besides the point. So like, but if something's not coming out right and I'm just getting too in my head about it, they'll be like, "Hey, let's just go take a break, go grab some food, come back." Which obviously you're a singer, eating and trying to record vocals at the same time. It's not the best move. But I say all that because the people that are in the studio with me are like my friends, and they help me get out of my own head. It's like, dude,
Yeah.
you're overthinking it. Like,
Yeah.
just say the line, and then like do a few takes at it, and then like we'll take the take that you think like expresses the best emotion or the emotion you're trying to get. And if I didn't have my friend Colin and like the producer Tyler being so cool, my manager Mandy, um, I don't think the song would have came out like I wanted it to, and it ended up coming out just like I wanted it to. So
Yeah.
I'm very grateful to them. They're the best.
Yeah, no, it's really important to work with people you feel comfortable with and being okay with doing something as many times as you have to. I'm that way with vocals, but I'm especially that way with piano, just again because of my background.
Yeah,
Anytime I do a piano ballad, I try as hard as possible to like think back to my days of like just doing classical piano and making sure the piece had emotion because as you said before, those pieces by Bach and everyone, like there's no words to them. They had to create music that conveyed emotion just through the music. And I drive my producer insane when I'm doing piano accompaniments for stuff because he's like, if you mess up, we can blend the takes. I'm like, no, but like I want to get this in one take this time because there's a certain emotion I want to create. And if it's blended together, nobody's going to notice. Like, if someone's listening, there's zero way you can know. But I know the track split there and it's going to drive me nuts. And
yeah,
so I literally, like, for Kind Heart, especially, it was either that one or another one. I like did it and then lunch was like ready and I was ticked because they were late with the pizza. It was like a whole thing. Like I was so mad because I was starving and like we ordered pizza and they took forever to get there. And he's like, well, we can do the piano while we wait. But I was just so mad and I did it. And he's like, well, we did it in one take. I said, no, but I was so like ticked off. Like you can tell, like there's no emotion to this. And so after we
yeah,
ate, I made him let me do it again and it sounds way better. And so, yeah, I totally feel like doing something as many times as you have to.
yeah. That, and also that I don't think I'm a perfectionist by any means. However, if there's a certain emotion I want to get, like I'm going to make sure I get the emotion I want out of it. And that's why like I said, we were in the studio doing I think like 7 hours that day, and so it's I know I was driving. I think I might have said one more time at least 70 times that day. At least I said, "Hey, just one more time." He's like, "Okay." And Tyler, he was so cool, but he's like, "He's no problem, dog." He's like, "You want to do it one more time again?" And I
That's
just
so
thought that was
funny.
so funny.
No, it is. And you're exactly right with the emotion. I think I used to be a perfectionist, but I don't think I am anymore. I think it's more of there's a difference between something having emotional resonance and something being perfect. Something can be technically perfect but have no emotion. And sometimes, like, if you're off timing slightly on a very emotional line, well, that probably, like, has a lot of meaning behind it. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah, for sure.
I think that the emotion over perfection is definitely super important.
That, and also just with you also they're also you have to almost force yourself to do this, I think. No matter how many times you record a song that you wrote, that you listen, that you like, you were in the studio with while they were making it kind of thing. it's also one of those things like you almost have to let your because I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Walked Away. I think it came out just how I wanted it. But even listening to it today, I'm like, oh, I would do this differently or I would do that.
Yeah.
You almost have to force yourself to be like, no, 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 it's good. You did a
Yeah.
good job.
Yeah.
Like put it out there, give it to the people. And if they don't like it, like you'll see.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
for
then you work
sure.
on it next time. But you almost have to like force yourself to like you have to force yourself almost to trust yourself
Yeah.
and like let yourself like relax and chill out because yeah, I mean, Done With You being my first song. I mean, I love the song. Craig Campbell produced it, and me and him had a great time working on it. Um, but also, like, it was so long ago now. I'm like, oh, I've grown so much as an artist. I'm like, I would do this differently. I would do that differently. And even when Walked Away, I'm still seeing it. I'm like, I wonder if one day I'll grow out of that. I don't know if it's immaturity or whatever it is, but like just being like, no, this is the song. This is what it needs to say. But I feel like as long as the emotion comes through and the meaning comes through and like the message you want to get across comes through, I think you did a good job.
Yeah, and there are so many artists who say they listen to their debut stuff and, like, hate it, and I'm not at that point. Like, I'll listen to my debut single and I still really love it
Yeah,
because, like, I really like the song. And my album, maybe I could have sung some of the songs a couple more times, or maybe we could have done more production. But I think what's the important thing to remember is that if you have like 3 projects out and you listen to your debut project and you don't hear a difference, that's a problem because that's showing that you're not evolving as an artist. I
oh
think it's
yeah,
really great to look back and say, hey, okay, I improved as a vocalist and my songs, just the writing improved. That's showing that there's progression because if you think, OMG, I wrote my best song and I'm never going to write anything like this, and then you don't crank out more songs that are reaching beyond what you did, that's a lack of progression. And so I definitely think it's okay to look at older music and be like, maybe could have done it again, maybe could have whatever, whatever. But that song captured a moment of time for you, and now you've moved on
exactly.
and you've evolved.
Yeah, no, you said that perfectly.
Yeah.
That's why I said like I look back at them and I'm like, oh man, I could do this different. I was like, but where I was, like the level I was at that time, I was like, that was the best I could offer at that time. That was the best like product I could put out, the best song I could do. And then Walked Away, I think Walked Away is better just
Yeah,
because like
yeah.
I've grown as an artist.
Yeah.
Um, and who knows? And I'm sure in 5 years, like I'll look back on Walked Away and I'll be like, oh man, like you didn't know what you were doing at the time, or like you could have done this better. And like I said, I hope I grow out of that and just can like really appreciate. It's almost it's almost kind of there's this quote like things aren't beautiful because they last.
Yeah.
And so it's really cool like to like capture like the moment and the feeling,
Yeah. No, I
and I
completely
think
agree.
and that's what's important.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Well, we've had such a wonderful conversation. And just to wrap
Yeah,
up, what advice do you have to any songwriters listening?
if you're a songwriter who's listening, my piece of advice, and I say this all the time, is to be 100% authentic. Be yourself. And I know that sounds cliche, like, be yourself, but like it's so true. People can sense inauthenticity. And don't try to be somebody you're not.
Hmm.
Um if you're trying to write a song that like you don't really relate to, um I don't think you're doing right by yourself. Like that's people want the real you. And for me, I think Walked Away is a real embodiment of where I was at the time in my life. And so I would say just be authentic, be truthful, be honest, not for the fans, but be honest for yourself too. Because I was said earlier, I don't talk well about emotions, but getting them out in a song that you love and that people can relate to is one of the most rewarding feelings you can have.
For sure. Fabulous piece of advice. Thank you so much for joining me on the show. It has been a joy chatting with you. And before we go, I would love for you to share where everyone can check out your music and connect with you online.
Sweet. Well, once again, my name is Emmet Stevens Jr. Every social media is Emmet Stevens Jr. or Emmet Stevens Jr. Music on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, before it gets banned, maybe. And then, yeah, my website, emmettstevensjr.com. EMMET. That's how you spell Emmett. Some people still don't know how to spell it. Apparently, that's okay. Um, yeah, all the show dates are listed. All the upcoming shows, And yeah, just follow on. We got more music coming soon. Um,
Fantastic.
I'm trying not to take as long to put songs out, but we're
Yeah.
getting better every day.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you so much again for joining me on the show. It was a joy chatting with you.
Oh, thank you so much to me.
You're welcome. And listeners, I hope you enjoyed this chat with Emmett. And of course, until next time,
Stay
stay
right
right
on
on
track.
track.